Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today, welcome back our head of written research, Michael, who's been doing a fantastic job over on the platform. You'll have seen all his articles coming through on the portal. So, welcome back, Michael.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
How's life in Bali during a bull market?
Yeah, it's good. Very busy. It feels like, um, we're busier than ever here. It's like obviously we've spoken about it before, but it's such a hub of so many different cultures and people here, all traveling Southeast Asia, and it seems like everyone's talking about crypto again.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting some of those messages from old friends and retail starting to creep back in. So, we're going to cover a lot today, guys. A lot of Michael's favourite projects and going to get into the weeds on a few other things that are happening and flesh that all out. So, where did you want to start, Michael?
Yeah, well, I'll share screen, and then we'll just sort of dive in and sort of see what's been going on lately. But I think for those that probably haven't been keeping on top of it, just what's happened just recently overnight. So, the martial law was declared in South Korea overnight by their president or prime minister.
So, as the
Um,
president declared martial law because he was about to be impeached, the
yep.
parliament and the government said, oh, hold on, what's going on? You can't be a dictator. And so I think they all got together, had an emergency meeting, overturned that ruling. And then the government, who the president had put out to stop the government doing this ruling, the military joined sides with the government and martial law was repealed at the last minute or something. So crazy scenes in South Korea overnight.
And apparently it's happened a bunch of times before throughout history. And what it did do though is it flash crashed the Korean exchanges like hard. So Upbit is like one of the biggest Korean exchanges, and I think they've got Bithumb and Probit. They've got a couple of like really sizable exchanges over there. They all flash crashed, and stacks of people got liquidated as a result. And I don't know if anyone saw it overnight. There was a little mini flash crash, and it bounced back, but man, how would you be? You're just getting wiped out because your government just like you just decided to turn dictator.
Yeah, that is really crazy, and it's I guess it's all related to everything I've been talking about in my political videos with everything going on at the elites at the moment and overthrowing governments and draining the swamps and that kind of thing. So it's important to remember that politics does tie into crypto.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. I guess moving on from there, like most people will know it, but over the last sort of couple of weeks now, we've really just had the Dinocoin pump, and so like it's really interesting because I mean, for those of us that have kind of stuck around throughout this whole last sort of bear market, we've all been positioning ourselves and doing research and finding the newest, hottest trends and all that sort of stuff. And then that second that the retail hit, like the sugar hit comes in, everyone just goes back and buys what they already know, and up she goes. And so, yeah, it's been almost comical in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of sides to this, I guess. So I know a lot of people were kind of laughing at like, oh, XRP and XLM and Cardano being Dino coins, but they're three that have actually, I believe, the fundamentals have changed, and there is definitely a bull case for those now, with the Trump administration in talks with banks to use XRP and XLM as that asset-backed ledger for the quantum financial system, for all the banks to be ISO compliant. So there's those types of things that are happening in the background. So I don't think it's a complete based on nothing pump. Whereas I look at some of these others and I've got no idea what to tell you, like what EOS or IOTA or V.
Neo.
Haven't really looked at those for honestly years because there's so many ecosystems to be across. So do you have any insight if there's actually fundamentals going on, or are these coins just pumping because they're tied to Bitcoin on exchanges and they're just being dragged up with everything, or?
I think it's a little bit of both. So there's like a lot of coins here that are just getting dragged up just because literally everything's getting dragged up, and they're just following their pair to Bitcoin. Like I think every project doesn't die a slow death. They all try and like kick and scream before they go out. Like even something like Neo here, which was meant to be like the Ethereum of Asia, like a couple of cycles ago, they still had a very, very small booth at last token 2049 in Singapore. So like they still exist and they're still trying to pivot and do things, but no one's going to pick up that really as far as an investment thesis. But then you literally get this run where everything from its class runs, and then these little narratives people pick up on it. So everyone likes to talk their book. Everyone loves to say, well, look, this is what my project's doing. But I do think it, like what you said, it's been very driven by probably the ones that do have fundamentals, but then everyone's just been out a coattail ride.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important to remember that something like Neo is still down 90% from that 2018 peak of $200. So, yes, it's had a good 7 days, but let's keep it in context. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like my boy Arthur Hayes here, he's even mentioning here, like in Korea, again, XRP trading volume on Upbit surpasses the total Korean stock market. And like, that's mental. Like, that's unbelievable that, our magic internet money is literally like beating out economies of developed countries.
Yeah, we've come such a long way from the dark forums and chat rooms where I first read about Bitcoin to literally surpassing volume. Altcoins are surpassing volumes of stock market, like major stock markets around the world. You've got to love bull markets.
Yeah, I mean, and really, you'd think that this is only just going to get more bonkers, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But as these things create news headlines, and they're almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, and so number go up, more people come in, number go up again, more people come in, and that's what that is, that crazy cycle. But I guess the landscape has changed again, and we'll talk about it again in a minute when we get to sort of general market overview. But like, I do think that we are at like a fork in the road here with, especially with the Trump administration, the fact that we've probably never had a more regulatory compliance environment about what we're about to see.
Yeah.
And, there's always been these little hideaway parts of the world like your Dubai's and even your Korea have always been fairly pro crypto or like crypto tolerant at least. But yeah, everything's about to flip on its head.
I'm looking forward to it. What's up next?
So I don't know if anyone read the article that I did during the week for those that are members, but if you're not, you probably would have heard about this AI agent trend that kind of popped off last week. And this took me a little while to get my head around. And I had a couple of nights of going to bed at like 3 a.m. just because I was just glued to the computer, just like with my jaw down, just dropped like in awe about what's actually happening here. So it originally popped off a couple of weeks ago where people created these AI agents and let them loose on Twitter. And then, people started like communicating with it, and then people started sending it tokens. And then all of a sudden it started shilling those tokens because it was holding its own, its own crypto. And so it started talking its own book. But now there's all these platforms that have popped off like this, like virtuals.
Yeah.
And effectively what these AI agents are is it allows you to spin up almost like a meme coin. It's like almost like a meme coin launcher. You can spin up your own AI agent. And I'll just look at like AI XBT here. This was one of the larger ones. Essentially, what happens is people buy this virtuals token. They bring it over onto the virtual site. You can create this I guess like this AI personality. You can pair it with a Twitter account, and then all of a sudden you can drop some money in. You pair the virtuals token with the token ownership of this AI agent, and then it makes like a trading pair. And then effectively everyone who buys into this can now reap the benefit if it ever monetizes. And the idea is that some of these will monetize, whether it's through trading or whether it's just through like revenue it generates by being a social media influencer or like a video game streamer. Like some of them are very video game focused. And so like literally people are like pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into some of these, and you can interact with AI XBT on Twitter. You go ask it questions and it will answer you. And
that's what I was getting to. I've seen some people, and I've seen this AI. I think this must be one of the more popular ones because I've seen it popping up on crypto Twitter, and it mentioned Stacks the other day, which we'll get to as well. So it's trying to talk about, I guess it's almost like a fast track of a lot of that on-chain analysis we do and sentiment analysis and, mentions of things and what's trending. It kind of brings it all into one AI bot account, and people want to know, hey, what's this thinking? Is this trending? What's next? And man, oh man, crypto was already fast-paced enough, and now we've got these instant AI agents looking at this stuff. It's crazy.
It's incredible because when this first happened, and I know everyone will be guilty of this. Like, I think the human psychology is you've got to hear something 7 times before you actually take action of it. And so I'm really trying to retrain my brain that when I hear about something and I don't know what it is, to not just dismiss it until I hear about it 7 times, because by that point it's normally already pumped. And so I'd heard about this 2 or 3 times, and I was like, okay, I probably need to. It's really hard to retrain your brain to do it. But I went to go dig into it, and it's absolutely mental because, I mean, even you look at this, like, I don't know if you can see my virtuals price chart here, but like, this is incredible. Like what's happened here, because people need to buy the virtuals token to actually create these initial trading pairs. Like, look at that. It's gone to a 2 billion market cap, like in a very short period of time in just a few months. And so, yeah, where this goes, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how smart these things get. It is kind of scary. Some people have speculated that what's going to happen when you've got an independent AI that exists on social media that has its own wallet that can pay for services from real world people? Like, does this get dark and sinister where they start hiring dark web sort of people, or like, where does this go? Or do people just stop trading and they just start getting an AI bot to just trade for them? Watch
Yeah,
this space, I think.
or does the AI start to try and brute force attack wallets and break encryption of wallets that it knows holds lots of crypto of certain types of, maybe certain chains that only have a certain small number of nodes? It can target those, and like, you get so many rabbit holes to go down with that for sure.
And like, I tune into the Bankless guys every now and then, and they made a really good point the other day. Like, most of this like emerging technology, it starts out on the fringes as like kind of a joke, and then kind of like, and then it becomes more serious and mainstream. And so I think that's what's happening here. We've got like Pepe Frogs who are communicating with us on Twitter, but the underlying technology is the underlying technology. And so, I mean, we're all going to eventually have our own virtual assistant, and Siri will become super smart, and I can just talk to my phone and say, book me a 2-week trip in Japan, and I want to go skiing, and I want to eat this food, and it's going to just do it all for me. But what happens when they're independent rogue agents that exist on social media accounts like and have crypto wallets? It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I guess this gets into the deeper philosophy of, what some of the stuff Musk is doing and wanting to chip people's brains. And there's very much are you on board with this transhuman philosophy? Are you very much against it? And this is the way tech's heading, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, watch this space. But moving on, I guess the other big piece of news that kind of happened in this last week was Hyperliquid. So I don't know if people have been paying attention to this, but Hyperliquid is a perpetuals trading platform, and it's only been around for a short period of time. But we can see in this very short period of time here, and this is a very pretty like detail orientated chart. But if you look here, we can look back to like, let's go to maybe July of last year. You know, the biggest platforms, DYDX, and then DYDX decided to move away from ETH to Cosmos, which was kind of controversial, and they've kind of lost a lot of market share by doing that. You can go by April this year, you can see that DYDX dropped from like probably half of what their market dominance was, and then you started having places like GMX starting to pop off. But right now, just in the last couple of months, Hyperliquid is now 50% of all of the DeFi perps market, and it's only existed for a couple of months.
And we spoke about DYDX specifically and said I think that, it's such a huge risk to go away from Ethereum to some other smaller chain, and look at their volumes. Well, it's dropped from 60 something percent to 8% there.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting one. Like we spoke about in the pre-interview, it's kind of a DEX because you can connect your wallet to it and there's no KYC, but then it's its own chain, and it's you're basically just speculating against other people that have deposited USD, right? And so it doesn't have
Correct.
reserves of Bitcoin or XRP or whatever you're trading per se.
Yeah, correct. I mean, like, it's kind of got that, like, it is a synthetic contract, but the interesting thing about it is that, like, there's been lots of chatter on Twitter about it, about where they go from here. Like, will they open source and actually become more DeFi based, or are they about to introduce KYC and turn into a centralized exchange? So it almost is fork in the road time, but it's incredible because of the user experience is quite good. They've been able to capture a large percentage of the market really, really quickly. And you can see the token here is just sort of like popped off, and now we're sitting at a $4 billion market cap. But the interesting thing is they just had their airdrop, and the airdrop here is being touted as one of the greatest airdrops in history because their strategy was actually really good, where they had just an infinite amount of users to gobble up all of the sell pressure of the free tokens that came on the market. And there's very few airdrops that have a chart that look like that.
Do you know, have you heard numbers of how much, any of our members got, or what you were getting for what you traded or something? Or
No, we're digging it all up right now. We'll write a report on it.
Okay.
But it's very, like, the biggest one that I'd seen previously was the DYDX one.
Yes. Yeah.
Like Uniswap sort of started that airdrop season. 1inch had a really good one, and like we had people in the community getting probably like $20,000 US a wallet off of the 1inch one just by trading on 1inch. DYDX was a monster one, and we had, and this is a first-hand account, so this is not just a made-up number, but we had someone in the community from Nuggets News who had, there was only 76 wallets that actually got the top sort of allocation of tokens, and we had someone that had two of them because they were trading with two different wallets and they're worth $250,000 each.
That's insane. Yeah.
So that's an airdrop. $250,000 a wallet, and there was only 76 people in the world, and so this person who we know, had two of them. And so that was the biggest one that we've heard of so far. So we're starting to gather some data on Hyperliquid because there's been heaps of chatter around it. I know some people have done very well from this, so we'll have some stats on it shortly.
Yeah. But as you say, fork in the road, because you can't play in both worlds. You can't have no KYC and anything like that and then be doing billions of dollars in volume, but then not prove reserves and be a small team. You're going to get a tap on the shoulder, just like the Tornado Cash devs did.
Yep.
Like Pavel from Telegram. If you're a centralized team and they know who you are, whatever, like you can't have it both ways. So yeah, like you're saying, I think they're going to have to make a direct decision soon.
Yeah, it's watch this space, and I guess it's another one of those examples where don't wait till you hear about something 7 times. Like, try and act. Just because you haven't heard of something before doesn't mean it should be dismissed in your brain, and that's just the way you've got to train yourself in blockchain.
For sure.
All right, so this one's an interesting one because we're going back to the Dinocoin topic. Now, I'm of the firm belief that, like, if you're going to manage a portfolio, and inside the Nuggets News member section, you can actually see some of the portfolios of some of the teams. I firmly believe, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana should be the majority of your portfolio. Probably, I'm personally like 50% just sitting in Bitcoin and ETH still. And then I get pretty heavy into Solana. And then from there, you sort of branch out. Now, everyone will try and make these really complex portfolios where you've got 30 coins and like you watch some of the other crypto influencers on YouTube, and every single day they're coming out with a new spreadsheet of all the hot narratives. And if you actually followed some of these people, you would actually end up with 30, 40, 50 tokens. And I don't know about you, but I don't have the brain power or the ability to be able to capture that much attention and still work my job and still look after a family and all that sort of stuff. So I think you need to pick your lanes. Now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana is the heaviest part of my portfolio. But the community outside of that I like the most is Polkadot, and I've been pretty vocal about it. This is my Dinocoin portfolio, which I spend my time in. I think the tech is really, really sound. It is what ETH2 should have been. I mean, Gavin Wood was the founder of Ethereum. But again, it doesn't have user adoption. It doesn't have mainstream adoption, and that's why you wouldn't go all in here. But like, I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of everything they're doing here. So they stress tested the network this week. And they actually purposely spammed their chain with a whole bunch of transactions. The devs got together to actually see what it could do. 82,000 transactions came through. And so you're looking as far as like fastest blockchains. This has never been a narrative for Polkadot. So this is pre-spamming. They were just sort of sitting here like, oh yeah, they're a very stock standard chain. Kusama is Polkadot. It's a fork of Polkadot, but it actually runs as like a live testnet with actual live money. So the actual testnet tokens are not free. You actually have to buy them.
Yeah. And
so Kusama is just an exact copy of Polkadot. Everything happens on Kusama first. Literally real life, 82,000 transactions a second. So this is very interesting. I know that the Polkadot community's gone very bullish on Twitter and feeling a little bit justified about this at the moment. So, watch this space, I guess.
Yeah, well done. I know you've been super bullish on Polkadot and Kusama and that ecosystem. So good to see them. If you've got really good tech, you can normally get some sort of business partnerships and something. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in that space.
Again, this is a shout out as well to like all the Cardano people. And like, we kind of like Cardano people have kind of become like the bunt of a lot of jokes. They're going to get super rich one day so they can take their wife and their wife boyfriend out to dinner. Like, that's the Alex Becker, joke.
Yeah.
But like, if you're in these communities, and I know that like people like even the Algorand and Hedera communities, like even ICP community, you get these people who are very passionate at what they have, and you're not wrong. Like, you're not wrong. The tech is cool. I just don't think you go all in on something that's not sort of Bitcoin, ETH, Solana. Like, you've got to sort of pick your battles. But absolutely, these chains have a claim to what they're doing.
Exactly. And in Cardano's defense, as I said before, they have pivoted a fair bit now to be trying to say that they're a Bitcoin layer 2.
Bitcoin L2, yep.
And that interview I did with Yago talking about a lot of the zero knowledge tech they're trying to integrate with Sovereign. I'm still getting a lot of questions. I still like Sovereign, guys. One of the ones we've been talking about for the last couple of years is another Bitcoin layer 2. Sovereign and Bitcoin OS, which is the Bitcoin operating system. I think they're merging, or at least with their raise, sovereign token holders are going to get 10% of the tokens from that Bitcoin OS raise. So check out that video Jago and I did the other day if you want to know more about all that.
Super cool. And I think people in these communities should feel justified. And I mean, that's always been the thesis behind our research, is that we don't FUD projects, because we don't FUD projects. We don't talk about things where we don't understand. Like, so we call it internally here, you don't swim in waters where you don't know where the bottom is. And so, like, unless you're like in the weeds of these projects every single day, you never know what they've actually got cooking. And there's really smart people who are very passionate about all of these projects. And so if you're in one of these ecosystems that is considered to be a little bit more niche or like under the radar, like, have conviction in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, structure your portfolio accordingly, but have conviction.
Yeah, and I like what you said about human psychology and having to hear something 7 times. And we all get better at that the more cycles we go through. But I was halfway through working on a write-up about XRP and XLM because one of my friends who's giving me a lot of intel with what's happening behind the scenes politically, he's been talking about the quantum financial system and that Trump's going to win in a landslide and Trump admin is going to use XRP and XLM. And as it was getting closer and closer, I was thinking, this stuff is going from being purely speculative, dark web, you don't know what to believe, what not, to more and more things coming true. And again, I slept on that, and then XRP and XLM jumped 500%, after I haven't finished my write-up. So sorry about that one, members. We missed that one, but everything else is popping off, which is great.
Yeah. It's and I know that you've been really bullish on stacks as well, like the whole way through, and like our community's always loved it as well. Like, especially when you look at some of the core Bitcoin infrastructure that's happening, and it's only just been justified lately.
Yeah, so Stacks is breaking out, I think, today. And I think the big thing for me was that people are going to realize this is Bitcoin's top layer too, and it's just not priced in. And then in the last 2 weeks, we've seen it gone from these Twitter accounts that are 1, 2, 3,000 talking about it to you've got 100, 200, people with 600,000 followers all saying, hey, Stacks looks like it's going to break out. This is Bitcoin's leading L2. It's got a cool ecosystem and meme coins, whatever. So again, this is probably, whereas I've been saying for 2 years, I think this is the most bullish sector. Get some exposure.
Yeah, that and Thorchain as well. Like, I do believe strongly that Thorchain thesis is like a good one, because ultimately, like we've always talked about, me and you have talked about this before. There's normally like 3 types of personalities that come into this space. There's people who are here to make money. There's people who are here because they love the culture of like the meme culture and the gaming culture. And then there's people who are here for decentralized tech. And I'd like to say that I'm a purist and I'm here for the decentralized tech. And it is very high on my list, but obviously we're also here to make money as well. But my decisions are obviously weighed by a lot of that decentralized future of a free and open internet. And things like Stacks and Thorchain only aid that vision. And you can make money at the same time. Hopefully.
Yeah. And I think JP Thor, the new Voltisig wallet they've got, I'm not sure if you've played around with that yet, but I'll do a tutorial. So guys, that is like a one where you can have 3 devices. So your home computer, say your laptop and your phone, and all 3 of them connect and sync. And then you need them 2 or 3 or 3 of 3 to send a transaction. So you can't get hacked if you click on a bad link on your computer because the other 2 are still safe. So they've got a big airdrop coming as well if you do decide to start using Voltisig instead of your Ledger or your MetaMask or these other wallets. And talking to JP, he did say they're integrating Stacks pretty soon, and all those BNS names, and hoping to have it like that all in one app so I can send some Stacks to Michael.btc or Michael.stx, and all those things that we saw happen on ETH last cycle are now happening in Bitcoin DeFi. So super exciting.
It is super cool. And I think, not anything that we publicly can talk about, but like, I know I go pretty hard on the event and the event scene. And so, just last year, our travel itinerary was pretty heavy. I think I hit 4 continents this year. And we talk to people a lot behind the scenes. And I know that there are other nation states that are buying Bitcoin. And I know that sounds a little bit egotistical saying I know, but like, I know.
Yeah.
I know of other nation states that are actually buying Bitcoin, and like smaller countries. But I mean, this is all happening behind the scenes, and they're obviously not going to get vocal about it because they don't want to get front run. But like, we're here on the precipice of like life-changing version of the internet.
Yeah, and I think it just looks like we're coiling up at 100, the same as we sort of coiled up under that previous all-time high for a while. We've had some ridiculous price action around Christmas, that mid-December period, every cycle, whether it be marking crazy lows or crazy highs. And Philip and his momentum indicators, he's obviously been a huge contributor now, and I just love what he's saying. And all these indicators is mostly still flashing green and saying, hey, it's going to be a really fun 2025. So well done to everyone that's stuck with us all through the bear market, and hopefully everyone is making that money and getting that freedom, which is what we all want ultimately.
Yeah, and if you haven't yet, come get involved in the community as well, because like we were saying before, there's just not enough time in the day to cover off everything. And so collectively, if we can all sort of cover a little bit of territory individually, and then we can all summarize it, this is the way that you get ahead. And so you've got to have a filter, you've got to have more eyeballs and more brains, and that's what we try and do for the members.
Absolutely. So, just guys, if you haven't signed up already, you can sign up for the free newsletter, or we have all our daily research, that middle tier, or we have the VIP group as well for high net worth individuals, where you get to jump on a call with Michael, myself, Kyle, Philip, the whole team every month, as well as get sort of 24-hour support through WhatsApp and everything. Use our broker and all that good stuff. So we've got members coming in. Retail's finally here, and sign-ups are picking up and everything, so it is good to see. So well done on all the written research and brilliant stuff you're doing, Michael. Cheers.
Appreciate the support.
And we'll have to talk again soon.
Yep. See you next month, probably.
Thanks, guys. See ya.